It is Wednesday, January 24th, 2023, at about 2:30 a.m. And we've got this goddamn cold, or flu, whatever the hell it is. But anyway, I was in the tub, and it's like, haven't done one of those video logs in a while. It's like, so please excuse us being in the tub. But don't worry, bubbles and camera angle, so all you get to see is our face as usual. 2023. There's the thing. Honestly, never thought that we'd even make it past 30, much less 2023. I'm surprised even the world is still here. Of course, we're working on that. Alright, we're supposed to be talking about our DID, and we're avoiding self-assessment time, infinity system. How are we doing? There's both good and bad here. Since losing, I won't say the name to save me, Chris. Chris, I won't say the name so that, or me, whatever. So you don't have to edit it out later, but anyway. See, right there, passive influence, or active influence, who knows. Regardless, and now of course it's flowing. Therapist, yes, that's right, okay. After we lost our therapist, it was just basically, and of course found out that we couldn't find one that actually, is useful for anything more than addictions and anger management, that type of thing. It's just, this is part of the hell of DID after a while, is that it takes a specialist to help you. And those specialists are few and far in between, at least where we are. And we've looked. It's time to talk to our clinic again about that. And discover that we have a new case manager, like we always do, or whatever. Yeah, it's a good thing we don't go into crisis much. Okay, let me rephrase that. We haven't had, knock on whatever metaphorical wood is right here, any really bad things like when Christopher was out. If I'd said just learning about Jenny and Jane was not fun. Anyway, point being, we've had to use our tools as best we can, and it was really bad timing. Really bad timing there, Miss Therapist. If you still watch these. It wouldn't surprise us, but it also wouldn't surprise us if you don't. I don't know. You should. Bad timing. Unless, of course, it's like there we start to get into here. Anyway, point is that we've been using the tools that we were taught by our various therapists to manage the condition. See, here's the thing. Here's the thing that pisses pisses us off, me and Data, because it's an inaccuracy, and those just drive him up the wall. And shit, here we go right again. We just totally lost the train of thought. Fuck. It's, yeah, see, there it is right there. There it is right there. Fuck, what the hell was it? And of course, you guys are sitting there saying it's such and such to the screen, but we can't hear you because we are now and not then, wherever it is that you are in whatever temporal spatial coordinates. Sorry. Don't remember what the hell we were going to say. Which I suppose in and of itself was probably the point. Tools. Oh, now we finally remember. Yes, tools. Using our tools and whatnot. See, the thing that really pisses us off about DID is shit. There it goes again. What the? Tools. Using our tools. Okay, look, we're just recording a freaking video, guys. Can we just... Whoever is pulling this shit, just please stop. I don't... See, again. Again. And this goes on all the time. This goes on all the time. And it's getting worse. Tools, where the hell are we going with it? Since losing our therapist, we've had to use our tools, and we were going to make a point off of that, but we've lost it twice now. So either it wasn't that important, or somebody has deemed that they don't want to say it, or they don't want it out there. And I can't, whatever, can't figure it out. That's twice now, right in front of you, that we have lost it. Just gone. It's maddening. It's maddening. Because it's just, you can't get anything done. You can't rely on your memory. It's infuriating. Okay, we were ranting about our therapist and not being able to find one, and our tools, and then we said, see, the thing about DID is, and we remembered, and then promptly did the same thing all over again. Which generally tells us, me, Data, that somebody is actively repressing that thought. Or whatever. For whatever reason. See, this is why we think we have a non-co. Among a few other things. Anyway, I suppose the point that we were getting at is that we have made progress in 2022. We finally made that it's almost like our journey has been you're locked inside a box and you don't even know it. And the box is your DID, and it's been your entire world. And then all of a sudden your therapist comes along and says, opens the top of the box and goes, guess what? There's a whole other world out here. And the one that you've been living in is not your fault. And then you discover that you are multiple, and then you start to go through all the trauma. And you have to deal with everything that goes along with that, and then you have to get the basics of understanding what trauma does to you and what it does to your brain and your behavioral patterns, and how the behavioral patterns are created by the abuse and are laid down just so thoroughly that you don't even realize it. You don't even realize it because it was normal to you. And peeling that back is a task, because first you have to accept that it's happened, and then you have to, trauma doesn't lie. And then you have to start looking at the impacts that it's had on you and your behaviors now, and why the past traumas have laid down that way of responding. And it's only, you have to peel back that layer to have the proper perspective, which is where we were going in the box analogy, except you're inside of a box, which is inside of a larger box, which is inside of a larger. Well, okay, it's actually, it kind of like goes downwards actually, but I'm trying to describe the headspace anyway. Well, not headspace, just layers of what the trauma does to you and does to your brain. But anyway, therapist opens box. Real says, "Hey, other world here. Oh, by the way, this is what happened. You are this, and this is how you became this, and you have X symptom and X symptom and X symptom, and I've eliminated every other possibility. And guess what? You have DID." And you're like, "What?" "Oh, you may know it as multiple personality disorder." And you're going, "Uh-huh." But then all of a sudden you're into, you can't deny the facts and you can't deny the symptoms, and you're into this world where you have to learn everything all over again, because your entire life has been formed and shaped by the trauma, and sometimes controlled by the people, like your abusers, so that you have no perspective. Your perspective is severely damaged. And so as you go through your journey and accept that you are a multiple, and therefore you accept that the trauma that caused it is there, and we're not saying, and I'm not saying it's our trauma is deeply physical and mental, and it was all there, all the classic signs, all the classic symptoms, and nobody noticed. We sure as hell didn't. Nobody paid attention. In elementary school, our parent, we drew there's no other way to say it. Our stepfather showed us how to draw this cartoon. That was a dog on, when it was held one way on the paper, and you'd flip it upside down, and it was a woman spreading her legs on the other. It was one of those, 2-for-1 illusion things. And the next day we went to school. This was fourth grade. Mrs. L. We'll abbreviate, because there's always some whack job out there who will trace down every single last bit of information on you just to prove they can. It's like, whatever. But that was fourth grade, and the day after he showed us that night before we went to bed. It was at dinner or after dinner, and it's a real appropriate thing to share with your stepson at the dinner table. It was all right there. Nobody noticed. Anyway, when we went to class the next day, I think we drew it and passed it around, or that's what kids do, and we wanted to be popular, which we weren't. I mean, we just wanted to be liked, noticed. Anyway, I don't remember whatever it means, but But you know what? This is opening up some memory windows here. Yeah. I think she noticed, or started to put it together, but there probably wasn't much that she can do, which would explain the narcissism. Anyway, he showed us this drawing. We reproduced it in next day in class, and then again for her as she kept us after class. And she asked where we had seen it or learned to do that, and we said, told her the truth, because, you know, and it was the next day or a couple days after that the egg donor and abuser were called into the nurse's office. And we weren't allowed in there for that visit. At least not that I remember. Maybe. I don't know. If we were, it was one of those things where we were just sitting there, dissociating, because they would have found some way to blame us for it, or, oh, well, it's like kids just say the darndest things, don't they? And, I don't remember what happened when we got home. There's a lot that we don't remember. Which I suppose is probably for the better. But yeah, peeling that onion back on the layers of trauma, and you make the realization that the trauma's there and how much impact it's had on you, and all of a sudden you discover that you've been living in those boxes and you have to actually learn how to live. You have to learn simple, basic skills that children are taught. A lot that they pick up on instinctually, but you didn't, because you had no cohesion. You weren't taught them. You were kept in a very tightly controlled environment. No perspective. But yeah, then you eventually get taken out of the box. Well, you never truly escape the box. Nope. DIDs. Sorry, this is my box, and my brain's been rewired, and done my best to make it work. Our best to make it work, to survive, to get through. Sure, we had a point. But we have started to learn to identify the reactions that we're having. It's like, whoa, wait a minute, this feels familiar. And the trauma pattern, well, the incident or the trauma pattern, what we were taught or told that underlies it. And or just, just whole thing. It's like, for example, night before New Year, we had the flashback. Partial, because we finally learned to kind of pull ourselves out of that. Sometimes the grounding does work, but Jesus, it's a fucking struggle. And it doesn't always work. Most of the time it doesn't work. Let's just be honest about it. We still shove away. Can't deal with this right now. Nope. Stick a pin in that. When we're ready to deal with that, the trouble is that we are ready to deal with it. the amygdala has unlocked that particular section of the file cabinet because it's like, okay, hey, I've already spat this at you and spat that at you, and hey, we're still here, aren't you? Let's keep unlocking those doors. And you're like, but we have made progress, and we think that that's a significant step because now we can identify the behavior before we slip completely into it. We can identify why we're having that reaction, what caused it, and then we can take action to not fall into that behavioral pattern or that way of reacting. And it's constantly, it's like an aha moment, but it's just all part of the constant never-ending dance that is pretending to be normal. And jazz hands. Which, as it turns out, we've been doing our entire life. Without even realizing it. Ooh, us, a system? No, we don't even know what the fuck a system is. Multiple personality? Oh, that's something interesting that only happens in movies, and that terrible movie with, damn it. Can't think of her name right now, not the most recent one, but, Sally Field, that's it, I think. So yeah, good thing for 2023. Jesus, that was basically the only thing that we really wanted to say. And it's taken us 22 minutes to do it. And along the way, we lost whatever the fuck that was twice. Having DID sucks. We have come quite a ways. Yeah, we're not ready to talk about that. Yeah, that's